Well, good morning, everybody. Or should I say good night? I'm here on my front deck with all the lights in the house turned off, trying to film the night sky, but if I'm being honest, the stars aren't particularly strong. And even if they were, I'm learning that perhaps my camera isn't strong enough to capture them. But that's okay. We've all seen the night sky, and we can certainly hear a lot of things tonight. And what I want you to do is begin by getting out. We talked about having a prayer journal, like some kind of notebook for doing sort of church activities in, or just a piece of paper. And I want you to start writing down everything that you hear. Or perhaps if you can see anything, or if you can think of anything, write down anything that's in the night sky that you might see, or that miraculously you actually do see. I live on the highway, of course. We're going to hear some cars go by, but in between there will be some nice quiet. And what I'd like you to do is just take a moment to relax, to take all your baggage and leave it at the door, and try and make this an oasis of calm and a time to listen out of your week. So I'm going to ask you to just start writing down the things that you hear. Maybe, if we're lucky, the things that you see. We do have fireflies and a few other things around here tonight, so you might get lucky, or maybe I might get lucky. But anyway, just take a moment and write all these things down. You could be as specific. You could talk about atoms and molecules and galaxies and all that kind of stuff, or you could just say cricket, bird, black screen, whatever you like. You could even say pickup truck with stacks if you like. I hear crickets, frogs. You can hear the creek trickling. There's a dog. You can hear the echo amongst the trees. There's some animal digging up my lawn about 10 feet away. You can hear creatures moving in the woods. And what I want you to do as you look at this list that you've made is just remember that you're part of something. I hope that despite my filming skills, you have a sense of awe, the world around you, and awe in being part of that. I hope that it helps you make you feel closer to God and each other, and feel like you have a part in this great, beautiful patchwork quilt that is our world. I want you to just take a moment yourself to invite God into your space, and remember that this is a time of discernment.
So I don't usually read the passage. I usually leave that to you, but I'm going to break my my pattern this week, and I don't know why. I just feel like reading it this week. So we're going to read 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 5 to 12, and I think this is the NIV or something. Anyway, it goes like this. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I should give you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love for your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, although I am only a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous they cannot be outnumbered or counted. Cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil, for who can govern this, your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked this and not asked for yourself long life or riches or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you." So this is the last time we're going to talk for a month. I'm heading on holidays for August, and I've got other videos lined up for you. And I kind of said to myself this week, I don't want to talk about the virus anymore. I don't want to talk about the lockdown or whatever. I'd like to talk about other things. But the phrase that is just ringing out to me, particularly heading off on my vacation and thinking about what's going to be going on when I come back, and just this whole time, the phrase that really stuck with me this week was when a friend of mine said, "It's a shame to waste a crisis." I really like that. I think he's really right. There are a lot of institutions and cultural norms and things like that need a shakeup. Nursing homes is one of the big examples. We knew that we needed to change nursing homes up. We didn't do it. The will wasn't there. And now we see the consequences. So, that's just one example. It's a shame to waste a crisis. We know that we need to make changes. Let's not waste this opportunity that we have. One of the things that's really hard in change theory is just sort of letting go of the old thing. Like, a lot of people want to change. Everybody's always talking about change. And it doesn't matter what group you're part of. I'm part of another group right now that they're just always going on about growth and change and blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of new to this group, and I'm thinking, you're fine the way you are. I don't know why you'd change things. So it's just a buzzword everywhere, and the church knows that we need to change. But they can't let go. And so here's this pandemic has come through, and it said, you can't do things the way you used to do them. Here we are online. When we go back, we're not allowed to sing, and we're not allowed to touch each other and even be within 6 feet of each other. And communion's going to be weird and hard, and we're not going to be able to have coffee hour. Like, there's a bunch of, it's going to be tricky when we're back. Church is not going to be what we're used to. And, so it's just everything's different all of a sudden. And so we've had this opportunity where everything's different, and we don't really have a choice in it. And so we can sort of dive into it. And so as I was going off on vacation, I said, I've talked about this enough. I really don't want to talk much more about it. But I think the last thing I leave you with before I go is I really want you to spend some time asking God for discernment, like Solomon. This is the time. We're not doing as much as we used to do. We have time to sit and think and reflect. So while I'm gone, I'd really like you to ask for wisdom and really discern, what the future looks like for you. I love this passage with Solomon because, everybody loves this passage with Solomon. You expect a king to ask for riches and long life and blah, 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 all the things that were mentioned in the passage. And he says, I'd like wisdom. And, I have a lot of time for leaders that know that they don't know everything, and so they ask people that do for help. I think that's the sign of a strong leader. And I think Solomon had his problems, David had his problems, and Solomon had a few more, but he also had some more wisdom. It's, we're all human, and it's tough, and it's exciting, and everything's changing all the time. So Solomon asked for wisdom. And I think that's so important. So when I think about wisdom and discernment, I sort of have this vision of, if you were to represent the world around you like this quilt, sometimes you see this art where like the farmer's fields are a quilt, right? Every once in a while I've seen a painting or something where it's the fields and the rolling countrysides represented by this sort of traditional country thing that is a quilt. And so I'm sort of imagining that, and then imagine like a red thread that's woven through it, and it's our job to follow that thread, right? It's our job to discern where the leader and guide of life, the universe, and everything, the mystery that we call God, right? Where is that thread leading us? As Christians, our conviction is that thread is leading us to a wholly good and wholly just place. And so it's important to just spend that time asking for wisdom and discerning. So when a leader like Solomon asks for that ability to follow that thread, it's an important, he's being an important role model there. But during COVID, this is always our job. As Christians, I think, like even church, when we get together on Sunday morning, it is to support each other in figuring out how to follow that thread that's hard to see, right? And counter to our human instincts. But right now, especially, like we're not great at following that thread, and we're really good at getting distracted. Right now, especially during holidays, we're going to be spending time maybe at the cottage or by the lake or just hanging out at home. I don't know. But this is time when we all slow down, and we've had to slow down more. And when I get back in September, we're going to be talking about how to reopen the church. We're going to be looking at this in a longer term. Maybe jobs and other stuff are going to be winding up into higher speed. By the time I'm back, I'm sort of going away on holidays on a really critical time. I booked these months ago, but because right now it's such a slow, summary, reflective time, and all actions seem kind of distant. But I'm going to be coming back right in the thick of things. And not only are we going to be picking up like we usually do in September, except it's not going to be like we usually do. We're going to be picking up, gathering speed the way we usually do, but it's going to be in a very different way. But we're going to be going in a completely new direction. And so I hope that over the time that I'm gone and the time that you're relaxing and trying to just clear your head and do what you do at this time, I want you to just spend time asking not just what you want of the future, but what you think God is calling us to do in the future. It's a shame to waste a crisis. We're not only not tied to our past, we've kind of been cut off from our practices. Now what? And this is going to be our reality for at least a year. So now what? For our sort of closing prayer exercise, when we pray at the later part of the service, it's the prayer of thanksgiving and supplication. So thanksgiving is obviously what we're thankful for. Supplication is what we'd like to see. We often end with the Lord's Prayer, which is a community prayer. We use those words together, sort of mostly Sunday mornings with people 2,000 years in the past and who knows how long into the future. It's a community prayer, right? It brings us together with each other and with God and with Jesus. It's meant to sort of bring us together. And so at this time, we should think about what are the things we're pleased about? What are the things we hope for? And what I'd like you to do in order to sort of facilitate that, I want you to get out your prayer journals. For those who missed last week, I've asked you to maybe put together a book or like a folder or something where you can every week sit down and do your doodles or prayers or notes or thoughts or whatever. Sort of a notebook for church. I'm calling it a prayer journal. You can call it whatever you want. But have sort of a notebook, and I want you to just sit down and write the things that you miss and the things that you don't miss. And I don't care if it's about church. It could be about your job. I'm sure you could have a big list on that if you're working. It could be about home. It could be about anything. This is an exercise in discernment, and I think a really simple exercise in discernment. What do you miss? What do you not miss? And then I want you to sit down and just your thanksgivings and your hopes. Okay? And this isn't a traditional prayer where we're putting our hands together and doing what we do on Sunday, but I think what makes it a prayer is inviting God to the process. So as you sit down and as you doodle or write or draw, whatever you need to do to get that on the paper, and it doesn't matter. I want you to just anyway. Godspeed. I'll see you in a month, and I hope I picked some songs. They're on the blog. You can go onto the blog and play them. I hope you have a nice time, and I hope you have a discerning time. And let's not waste this crisis. Let's ask for some wisdom for discernment, and hit the ground running on the other side. Amen.